Okay. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. And we're live. I cannot tell you. My name is John, by the way. I know that many of you who are watching at this moment are like, who's this guy? Who in the world is this guy? Because you're not here for me tonight. You guys aren't here for me. You guys are here for the Oaks family. And I am going to bring them out in just a second, but I want to lay a little bit of groundwork. I want to let you know that if you are fans of mine, it is my great privilege tonight to introduce you to some people who I am fans of. So you are going to get to be fans of a person or some people that you maybe haven't heard of before. Now, I know that that's the vast minority of people watching tonight, because I know that the Tommy Oaks and John Thomas Oaks fans are out there in force, and they are chomping at the bit to see who they came here tonight for. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Those of you who have watched before know how this works. You just fill up the comment section with applause emojis and likes. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Tommy and John Thomas and Pat Oaks, the Oaks family. Here they are.
Hello.
You have to make some noise. Okay.
Yay!
Woo! Woo! Okay. Before we went live, there was a bunch of people in the comment section who were giving shouts out to you guys. And so I want to make sure that you see who they are. Here's Lori Church. You guys know.
Lori. Hello, Lori.
There's Tyler.
Tyler.
Right. And here's Audrey.
Yay, hello, Audrey.
And let's see.
Jeff was the first one in the room.
Was the first one.
Oh, yeah. Right here.
Jeff yeah.
He's the guy not wearing the gas mask. Is there a story behind that?
And Gayla was there too, our Indiana rep.
Gayla was on her way. Oh, there's Kay Heck.
Oh, yay. Another Knoxville.
Yeah.
Who else?
Kay Heck.
Kay Heck is in there.
Yeah.
And Gayla, our Indiana connection.
Yeah, there's Gayla. They're on their way home. They're going to try to stay connected.
And there's your daughter, Amanda.
Okay. All right.
Peaches is here.
Where's Mandy? She's supposed to be playing board games tonight.
Oh, I see her.
Yeah. There's Lori again.
So you were posting or cut off. Do you see that?
There's Mark and Bowden.
Mark.
There's
Mark.
Where's Amy?
There's Mark and Bowden. Holy cow.
Where's Amy?
I know Mark.
All right.
We want Amy.
There's Melissa.
I'll turn up my audio.
Yeah.
My audio's a little low. Is that better? Hope that's better.
Okay.
They are a little low. Yeah.
Check. Is that better?
Is that better? Sound
better.
She's
Let us know.
Amy's here.
All right. Let's see if you can hear the Oaks.
All right.
You guys all hear the Oaks?
Hello. Testing. 1, 2.
Thomas is testing.
So.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Is that everybody? If other people show up, yeah, there's Amanda. There's a couple of my people. There's Ray. There's Chance. There's Ray. Those are my people.
Hey. Chance and Ray.
Hello, Ray. Chance.
Ray Bates. All right. Well, welcome everybody. We'll let other people trickle in as they go. Tom Phillips says he can hear you. Amanda says it sounds good. All right. So what we are here for, just to let you all know at once. You know how when you have something that you're looking forward to, like a vacation, Gary Varvel says, this is riveting. Well, just hang on, Gary. All right. Gary's actually a syndicated cartoonist. He's a friend of mine. And he's a really talented filmmaker. And so he's probably going to be very critical of my video. But we'll be friends anyway. So, you know how you have a vacation you're looking forward to, or Christmas, and half of the fun of that is the anticipation of the event. You know, you just can't sleep at night. That's how I've been thinking about playing Story Salad tonight.
You've been drooling.
is that weird and childish, or is that?
No,
Is
you're
it
not
just-
alone.
It's very childlike.
Oh,
Which is spiritual. All right.
Um,
Ooh. Okay. We just turned our lights on.
now we can
Oh,
be
yeah,
seen
right.
better.
yeah, that's great. Gayla says, we're fans of you too, John. That's so nice.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Okay. All right. Now Gary's asking if these are comics, and so this is what I was going to get to. I want you guys to give a little bit of background.
Oops.
Frozen.
John's frozen. I wonder if we're being picked up.
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, hello. This is
You're-
the Oakshire
You're
filling in
frozen,
for John, who is frozen in the screen right now. Thank you, Amanda.
What's Amanda saying?
She said she liked the distinction between childish and childlike. So there you go.
Go ahead and take on.
And so I don't know what's going on with John now. His machine is messed up, I guess. But is John the only one? John's the only one that's frozen?
Okay,
All
well,
right.
we'll keep going. I think
We'll
he
just-
wanted us to introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe John will unfreeze before it's all over.
Well, this is Tommy. He invented the game we're playing tonight. Let's just cut to the chase.
We came out. In the
Yeah,
show.
let's don't beat around the bush.
All right.
I'm JT, his son, and this is my mom, Pat. And so we're going to teach you all a game tonight called the Story Salad. And John graciously agreed to let us do it live on his show. And we're so excited about that. We've been looking forward to it too. So if John doesn't come back soon, maybe we should
Go ahead and
start
start the game without him.
All right. So we entered this into a contest recently, and the object was to fit an entire game into a mint tin, like you've seen Altoid mint tins before. And we did it.
There, John's back, and
He's
he's
back.
moving. He's moving.
Continue.
All right.
Good grief! Now, were you guys here the whole time? So it was just
we
me that
were. We
left?
introduced
We
ourselves.
introduced ourselves.
We left you a long time ago.
We didn't want to lose the crowd.
Fantastic! It is great to know that I am not necessary in my own broadcasts. Yeah, well, I lost everything. It's just the whole thing went. So
We already explained the game. so-
No, we didn't explain
well,
it.
we
We just
showed the game.
said we got one. Yeah.
so okay, fantastic. Yeah, did you explain how we? I like this phrase. Oaks are not frozen.
That's right. That's right.
Thank
Oaks,
you, Kay. Thank you, Kay.
oaks are not frozen.
Yeah.
That's
All right. Yeah.
that's the nicest thing
Yeah.
anybody could say. How did we get associated with each other? Because I consider myself part of your family.
Oh, we feel
Whether-
that way about you, John.
Well, whether you like it or not. And how did this happen, JT?
I think
You're-
Dad was friends with Al Serhall, who used to be your preacher up there in Kokomo. And I think we came and did a meeting at your church one time. That's where we met you the first time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we did one of our shows, and then you were working for Mark Anderson, and you brought us back to Kokomo to do that show for him.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And
then
then you and John Thomas did that show, a run of it.
We
Out in
spanned the
Oklahoma.
globe with that show
we did.
from
We took it-
Oklahoma to Florida.
JT and I tripped the what was it called when you trip not the light fantastic? What is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, JT and I did a show together, and that's when we discovered that we have a mutual love for board games and card games, because we had a lot of downtime in between shows and after shows that we would play games. And so with that background, that's how we know each other. So tell them what this game is and how it's played, and we'll go from there.
Go.
Well, I want to say to begin with that there are people out there who, a lot of our friends have played this game. And so you all know what it's about. I mean, as I look down the list there, I think Kay has played it. Jeff has played it. Audrey has played it. I can't see who else.
Lori.
Lori has played it.
Tyler.
Gayla.
Gayla, I believe, has played it.
Tyler.
Tyler, I know, has played it, and his family has played it with us.
Right.
Mark may have played it.
I don't know if Mark has or not.
Lori has.
Should have. But anyway, a lot of people there have already played this game, and it's called the Story Salad. What you picture is a big old bowl, and you're going to make a salad together that everybody's going to enjoy. There's the title.
There it is.
Right there. Now it's and I wish that everybody could play it tonight, but as I understand it, the four of us are going to play it, and everybody else is not going to be able to tell their stories tonight unless they tell it with each other, right? They can't,
Right.
They won't be able to phone in a story or anything tonight, right?
No, I don't. I won't be able to bring people in tonight, but I do want to encourage people to play at home. I mean, you can listen to our stories here, and then if you think of a story, then you can tell it to each other.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let me say a few things about the story, and then you'll watch us play it, and you'll pick up on how it goes. Jeff just made some kind of a weird comment about preferring Story Salad against humanity. No, Jeff,
Yeah.
this game is not against humanity. This game is for
Are we
humanity.
eventually gonna
It's a
let
very
them
positive game. Eventually, I hope you all get to play it with us, and we will. You know, we played lots of times together. But let me say 2 or 3 things about the way the game is played. All right, we have these cards, and each card is like a piece of the salad. There's a carrot, onion,
Radish.
You can't. Is that showing up?
Yeah.
These were drawn by my son Jason, and each card has a subject on it. Now there are many different ways to play the game, but the way we'll play tonight is this. Since we got the deck of cards here, we'll and by the way, there will be a way to get this deck for yourself if you want to, right?
That's right. That's right. It's in the description link. There's a link in the description to how you can get this game.
Okay. All right. But what we'll do, since we got the game, is now if we were playing with you, we'd pass cards out.
Right.
Sometimes we deal them out. Sometimes we draw from the deck. But the way the game goes is this: it's not competitive. You're not trying to beat anybody. You're just trying to share with each other, and we enjoy each other. We learn about each other. We laugh. We cry together. Whatever. We're amused together. And when we draw a card, you look at it, and if you can think of a story out of your life on that subject, you tell it. And all the rest of us do while you're telling us, we just become a big, giant set of ears. We're just these huge ears, and we just listen as you tell your story. And then when you get done, if any of us have a story in that same category, we tell it, and then we go to the next person. And we just create a big salad of stories that we enjoy, I hope.
And what happens, Tommy, if I can't think of a story? What's my punishment?
No problemo. We'll draw another card. And we'll keep drawing cards till one of them hits a nerve with you.
That's it? There's no fines?
Nope. No fines, no penalties.
There's no physical
It's a very
beatings?
enjoyable game. For those of you that are real competitive, this is not your
Forget it.
game for right now.
What if I can't think of a story? Should I feel shame about that?
Well, you should, but nobody else. No, this game is not shame game. This is a fun game. This is enjoyable.
Hey, we got some Virginians.
Know it. It's our Cindy Sewell Bates.
We got Virginians who have played this
and
game.
Cindy has played this game. I know she has.
It's coming from the Bateses.
Yeah.
The Bates.
Yeah. Kara Terrell says she's a noob. What does that mean?
It's a newbie.
Newbie? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I
welcome,
think one of the cards said that, didn't it? Wasn't there a card that said I'm a noob?
No,
No.
I don't think so. But Kara, welcome, and I hope you like the game. I really do. I think you will. So we're ready to play it whenever you are.
All right, I'm ready.
Are you? Okay.
I
Well,
think.
so what we'll do is we'll start with you, John.
Of course.
I know you've played. We played this game, by the way, in John's daughter's house.
Yep.
A year or so ago, up around the table one afternoon. Spent a
Yeah, we
delightful
played.
afternoon.
You draw.
And
Thanks.
we'll draw a card for John. John, if you can think of a story in that category, just get ready to tell it. If you
Yep.
can't, we'll
Okay.
So what's the
Things-
card you drew for John?
I'm going to
Things have been going so smoothly for me that it just makes sense that I go first tonight. So
All right, I'm going to cut it. And I drew a mushroom that says, I was scared.
I was scared. Look at that. Look at that artwork. All right. I was scared.
All right.
I was scared. Okay.
You were scared.
Yes. All right. I actually have a bunch of scared stories, but the one that popped in first was this. I was on stage. I have in my other life, I'm a comedian. And so I walked out on the stage. I remember that they had announced my name. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to the stage now is John Branyan. And I couldn't find the door to get onto the stage. And so I'm running around backstage and finding there's curtains and there's things that I can't get on. I can't get on the stage. And so I'm trying to find my way. Eventually I found my way out on the stage and I walk out and there's 1,200 people. It's this giant auditorium. 1,200 people. And I take the microphone out of the stand and I look at them and I can't remember a single joke. I can't remember one. I can't remember how any of the jokes start. Now I've been doing this a long time and I should be able to remember something. And I'm standing on, and it's completely quiet in the auditorium. And so I start pacing back and forth, and I'm thinking, okay, one joke. All I need is the line. All I need is one word from a punchline, and it'll get things going. I can't think of anything. Nothing. Nothing comes to mind. And so it's like it's the worst blank I've ever experienced in my life. And at that moment, I woke up. Now this is I know what you're thinking. Oh, it was all a dream, and everything was okay, but when I woke up, I actually got more scared because as I'm sitting there in the dark and I'm sweating, I'm thinking, okay, my brain is where dreams come from. And my brain is also where I keep all of my jokes. So how is it possible for my brain during a dream to completely shut all of that stuff out? You know what I'm saying? So even after I woke up, I didn't feel better. I actually felt worse because it's like, okay, is this a premonition? Is this something that's going to happen in the future, or am I done? Is it just a nightmare, and I can forget about it?
That's great.
That's a great story.
Yeah,
that's a great story.
Yep.
Anybody else got a I was scared story?
I thought of one.
Okay.
And when it happened, I wasn't scared when it happened, but later that night I got really scared and I started just trembling. I was so frightened. What happened is I was up at this church in Joppa, Maryland, Mountain Christian Church, and a friend of mine, David Robinson, was the youth minister, and he decided one night to, when I was up there, it was for this junior high weekend, and they wanted to wow the kids out. So they bought this Batman and Robin costume, and they decided to swing in from the balcony every night as Batman and Robin, and then come down and wow the kids out. And so David hired his brother Jamie to come and hook up this elaborate rope system in the rafters of this church. And Jamie had been out to school in Washington State to train for mountaineering, to teach people how to rappel and climb rock faces and all this. So I had no reason to doubt his expertise. And so we stayed around to watch him hook up. It was impressive. I mean, he had ropes all over that sanctuary, and it was a huge sanctuary. And there was this balcony that was about 30 feet above the floor. And so when he got all the ropes hooked up, he said, "Okay, we need to try it out." And I said, "I'll try it." And David, his brother, said, "I will too." So we went up to the balcony and he hooked us into those, those harnesses that you use for rappelling. He hooked us on to the ropes, and he hooked up a safety rope, and a friend of mine named Bernie was down on the ground with a safety rope, and Jamie had a safety rope, and he goes, "Okay, here's how it's going to go. You guys are going to step up on the railing of this balcony. I'm going to count to 3, and you're going to jump. You're going to feel a short drop, and then you're going to start swinging over the pews. And then when you stop swinging, we're going to lower you down to the floor. Easy. I was like, great. So we jump up on the railing of this balcony and we're balancing there and we're right next to each other. And we're like, we got our arms around each other. And Jamie counts to 3, 1, 2, 3. And we jumped off the balcony and the rope didn't catch at all. We jumped straight down, free falling into the pews, the hard wooden pews on the floor below us. And I fell exactly like this. I just sat down in the pew. But David kind of fell sideways. He landed bad. And so I was afraid to move. And Jamie couldn't see us because he was at the back of the balcony with the safety rope. And he was up there going, how are they doing? How are they doing? And Bernie was on the ground with the other rope going, not good. And so it comes running down and we get David up off the floor and we're just sitting there afraid to move. Like, I hope everything's okay, you know? Well, we got out of it unscathed, but that night when I went to bed, I started thinking about all the ways I could have landed on a pew like that from 30 feet up in a balcony. Yeah. And I started trembling in the bed thinking I could have been incapacitated for life or killed or, you know, any number of things. So that was a scary moment.
Ooh, by the way, Flora Dobbins just said hi, John. I saw her.
What's up, Flora?
Hello, Flora.
Mark Amy just said, hey, watch this. That's the last 3 words of a redneck, right?
Yeah.
Mark and Bowden says I was there.
He was there. I thought of one.
Oh, here you want to trade?
Do I need to?
Can you hear him? Okay.
Can you hear me all right?
I can hear Tommy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's Sharon. Sharon Cook Price came in. All right. This will be our story selling seat here. All right.
Okay.
By the way, we just saw Sharon Price came in, and she wanted to know if we've heard that story before. Yes, Sharon, we've heard that story before. I bet you've heard that story before too. I don't know. Yeah. Now, Sharon, you and a lot of other people up through there could have been in on this story because I noticed several people on the whose names are popping up. I don't know. Everybody can't see that, can they, John?
Yeah, they can.
Oh, can they?
They can. Well, when I put them on the screen, they can see them, but they can't see them on the side.
Oh, okay, all right. But I'm seeing people up and down through there, like
right.
Sharon and Lori Church, and I saw somebody else. We've been in camp with Lori Church. Well, she was church then.
Right. The people watching on there's people watching on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. And so if you're on Facebook, you can see the Facebook comments. If you're on YouTube, you can see the YouTube comments.
Okay. All right. Well, what are we seeing? YouTube.
You guys are seeing everything.
Well, I'll tell you my story. It's a camp story. All right. And some of you, I wouldn't be surprised that you were there. Because there's Andrea too. Hello, Andrea.
Jim Matthew.
Well, Jimmy. Good to say. By the way, we ought to give a shout out to Jim Matthews. He's up in Michigan, and Jim has just gone through a bunch of stuff with his heart, and we just been praying for him like mad. And so, bless you, Jim.
I went to school with Jim. I know Jim.
Okay, all right, great. Well, we've been in camp with Jim too, but this didn't happen in your camp, Jim. This happened down at Unicoi, and I'm supposed to look at the green light, aren't I? Well. We were down at Unicoi. We were having senior high camp. Some of you may have been there. And we used to have this one day in senior high camp that we called Thrilling Tuesday or Thrilling Thursday or something. And what we would do is we just split the camp up into all these places you could go and do things. Like you could go rafting down the river, or you could go climb a mountain, or you could rappel. And we just faculty would split up and take groups of campers all afternoon, and then we'd converge for a lakeside sunset service up at Watauga Lake. Well, this particular year, I had caving and had found this cave in East Tennessee, not too far from Milligan. And some of you may have gone to Milligan College and have been in this cave. But the thing that I thought was so cool about this cave is it was like a V. You could go down into it, and when you got to the bottom of the V, there was a lake there, and that lake had a little ledge around it that you could, if you held your hands, you had to get in the water about chest deep though, which I thought was also cool. You want to wow out teenagers if you can. And so we thought we'd go down in that cave. We'd have them crawl across that ledge in water up to here, and then we get out on the other side, and we'd have one of those cave services where you talk about hell. Outer darkness. Okay,
Of
kids,
course you do.
We're going to think about what it's like to be in hell, or we would have cave, or the more positive side, we'd have cave worship. And we probably had cave worship. I don't know, but anyway, we got a bunch of campers down there, and we went down to the bottom of that V, and we eked them around that ledge. You couldn't see your feet down there. You just had to crawl around and hold that ledge. And we got on the other side, and we were having our cave worship on the other side there. And all of a sudden, we didn't know it, but a big old thunderstorm came outside. And water started coming down this side of the V and this side of the V. And I looked over at that lake, and that lake started coming up. And I thought, you got to be calm. You got to be calm. You don't want to panic these kids. But I said, kids, I think we probably should try to get on out of here. And so we had to take these kids back around that lake. But I had vision. That's when I was scared, because I had images going up this way. There was a stream of water coming down this way, and we couldn't go up that way. The hole wasn't big enough to get out. And we couldn't go that way. It didn't look like we could, because there was a creek of water coming that way. And I had this image of that lake filling up and everybody getting drowned. And my name would have been Mud in East Tennessee for the rest of creation. Everybody say he was the guy that took a bunch of teenagers in a cave in the middle of it and got them all drowned. So I was petrified, but I tried to be calm. And I said, now we'll just come around the edge here, and we'll get out. And I could feel that water as I was standing there, just coming up to here. And about the time the water got back right to here, we got the last kid up, and then we crawled up that creek and got out of there. Well, when I got out, I just had one of those moments where everything just goes limp in you, and you just get all nervousy inside. And I was genuinely scared that day. And one of you on the list may have been there for that. I don't know. So there you go. That's my scared story.
Yeah, that was last time that Tommy Oakes was ever a camp counselor.
It could have been. I'll tell you. Oh man. Any more scared? Well, we'll draw another card. This will be Patricia's card. All right.
Okay.
Since she wasn't you want to cut the cards?
All right. Audrey just said, so if Tommy ever suggests that we all go caving.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. What'd you get?
Okay. Well,
What does it say there?
Thanksgiving.
Says Thanksgiving.
Oh,
Thanksgiving.
It's a little pilgrim carrot.
See, I don't know if you can see. There it is. Little pilgrim carrot. All right.
All right, little pilgrim carrot. Is Pat can you move the microphone over, or is she gonna
put her in the story zone?
She gets in the story seat. Look at that story seat. It looks like it came from the space shuttle. It looks like you could.
It's a Superman chair.
Like you could fire photon torpedoes from there.
Yeah.
Okay. I think this is probably our favorite Thanksgiving story. Some of you have heard it. A lot of you have heard it, but a lot of John's friends have not. We were living in a little hole in the wall in New York City on 43rd Street. I was always afraid that the building would catch on fire because all of the windows were rotten, and it was a pretty miserable place. But we cleaned it up, and it was really cute. Anyway, we decided to have Thanksgiving in New York City, and our stove only had 2 working eyes and no oven. But I was determined to do all the dishes I always do on Thanksgiving. So I did. And we had a friend, Sam Hosapple. I don't know. Did you tell Sam about this? Mm-hmm. Anyway, he came for dinner that day. Well, since I didn't have an oven, I decided to go to Trader Joe's and buy tofu turkey. It's terrible. He has never let me forget the tofu turkey. Everything else, though, was delicious. I cooked the whole Thanksgiving meal on a 2-eyed stove, and one of those eyes went out before the day was over. So I ended up cooking on one eye, and everything else was wonderful, and it was just the perfect Thanksgiving, in my opinion.
It was.
But Sam never, ever talks about all the other stuff. It's always the tofu turkey. That's my Thanksgiving story.
Oh, wait.
I want to throw into that story too. She did cook it all. I mean, it was mashed potatoes and dressing and a pie and you name it. I mean, nothing left out. Bread
With a broken stove.
on one eye, one gas eye.
It was
So-
almost supernatural.
I'm just curious about why the tofu turkey. Was that the only option, or was it
Well,
just a?
No, I could have.
Yeah, I know that's part
Yeah,
of the story.
yeah. I forgot about that part. Let John Boy tell it.
I'll tell
though.
that part of the story.
Yeah.
This is what I like about hearing stories with the Oaks is because every one of them is a storyteller, and so they could just pass the baton in the middle of things.
So the day before, there was a market on the avenue, I think 9th Avenue over from us, that had rotisserie chickens in the window. Just hundreds of them, just rolling all the time.
Like real chickens,
Yeah, like real whole chickens on
actual
rotisserie.
chickens. Okay.
Yeah. So the day before Thanksgiving, I went over there to them and I said, "Are you all going to be open on Thanksgiving?" They said, "Oh yeah, we're open all day." And I said, "On Thanksgiving, tomorrow, you're going to be open?" Yeah. We'll be here 7 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock to 7 o'clock at night. I said, "Okay, can I come back here tomorrow morning and get one of these chickens for Thanksgiving?" "Oh yeah, we'll be open all day."
Well, it's
"Great."
New York City, right?
Yeah. So I went back home and I said, "We got the meat covered." I said, "It won't be turkey, but these chickens look great. They're basted, they're rotisserie, they're going to be ready and hot and fresh in the morning." So I go over there first thing in the morning, closed for Thanksgiving on the door. Closed for Thanksgiving. And there those chickens are right behind the window,
They're still on the rotisserie.
taunting me.
Yeah.
So that's why we got the tofu.
So, all right. So where did you go to get a? Oh, you went to
Trader
did you
Joe's.
say Trader Joe's. Yeah.
They were open.
And
Yeah.
Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn.
Yep.
I'd go to Brooklyn to get it. Yeah.
That
And
sounds
the
like
Trader Joe's in Brooklyn is in a bank, an old bank. Yeah.
Here's
I just got a Thanksgiving story. John, you got one? Thanksgiving story?
Sarah says that sounds like our foray into vegetarian hot dogs. Even the raccoons wouldn't eat them. I do have a Thanksgiving story. My beloved mother has a deep desire to have all of her family together at her place for Thanksgiving, and my mother is a wonderful, big-hearted person, but not a tremendously gifted cook. And so she's my mom. I wouldn't be here without her. And one of the things I love about my mom is that she gives us fantastic stories to tell, and she doesn't mind when we repeat things like this. And so my mom has never had a big enough house to accommodate the entire family. And so Thanksgiving has always been an affair where we're just packed in close to each other, and we have to assemble a dining room table from card tables and piano benches and various flat surfaces around the house, and then put sort of a makeshift kind of tablecloth over the parts that will fit. I think we've used bed sheets in the past. I think we've basically arranged or assembled an eating surface, and then we all gather around it, and it's super fun because we get to make fun of how ridiculous it is, and so we're all laughing at each other, and we're talking about how maybe we could have the Queen, maybe we can have royalty come and join us on Thanksgiving. I think this would be perfect setting for royalty. We can drink out of mismatched tumblers, and the silverware doesn't match. But the story was the year that my mom decided to make a cherry pie. And she made a cherry pie because I will eat pumpkin pie, but I'm not a huge fan of it. And so out of love for me, my mother went to the effort of making a cherry pie, just because she knew that I like it. And so after dinner, we cleared the food out of the way and just like, okay, it's time for dessert. And so out comes the apple pie and out comes this cherry pie. And we put it down on the table in front, and Mom says, I made this cherry pie just for you, John, because I know you like it. And I'm like, Mom, that is so nice. I will take the first piece of cherry pie. And she goes, I want you to have the first piece of cherry pie. And she hands me the knife, and I cut into the pie. Stick the knife into the pie, and it was like cutting into a water balloon. It was like, when the knife touched the surface of the pie, you could literally see ripples going out across the crust. There was crust on the top, but it was like wet. It looked like a balloon. And I went, Mom, how did you make this pie? And I made the second cut. And when I made the second cut, same thing. There was ripples, and then like this watery red substance just spilled out over the top of it, just spread all over the top of it. And I got the spatula and I dug in and I lifted the pie out like this, and it just went like water just fell like this, and the pie just went flat. It was just, I just pulled out two flat pieces of triangular dough connected by a thin crust. It was like cherry pie soup.
Oh.
And she swears that she followed the directions. She said, well, she goes, I know I followed directions. I said, Mom, there's no way that a recipe like this ever got published. There's no way that some other family out there said, hey, that soaking wet cherry pie, let's put that in the book. You had to mess up the recipe. You had to.
Tell her to use tapioca next time.
Yep. I got one. Yeah. Here we go.
Terry Newsom just logged in.
Yeah. I saw that.
What's up, Terry?
Hi, Terry from Virginia.
Yeah. Here's Flora Dobbins too. Your mom is the sweetest friend. I enjoy her story.
Thank
So
you,
Flora
Flora.
will
Your mom.
vouch for my mother. Yeah.
This is
Terry from Virginia.
This is one story. There's all kinds of stories about us with Thanksgiving, because when the boys were very small, we started a family tradition that lasted for many years in our family. We'd go bowling on Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's cool.
It got started when the boys were teeny. I don't remember do you remember how old they were? About 7 or 8 or 11. And we had eaten this big old Thanksgiving dinner, and we were sitting around, and I said, we need to do something to move. And one of the boys said, well, let's go bowling. Well, we found a bowling alley and locally, and we went there, and because it was a holiday, there weren't very many people there, and we kind of had it to ourselves, and we just loved it so much that started a tradition. And for years and years and years, until other people caught on and bowling got super expensive, we bowled all kinds of places in the world on Thanksgiving. But I told, and then what we would do is this: after we would bowl, we would come home and eat leftovers and sit around and I'm not trying to sound spiritual. We worship together.
Right.
We just sing, and we got singers in the family and piano player, and we'd sing and thank God for as many things we could think of. Well, I told that story lots of places about what we had done. And one Thanksgiving, we were having Thanksgiving dinner in Knoxville, Tennessee. And there was a knock at the door. I went to the door and opened it, and John and Cindy Clark and how many kids did they have?
4.
I think they had 4 children then. I'm not sure. They had a bunch of them. Their whole family were there. They said, we came to go bowling. They got in the car. We didn't know it. They got in their car. They lived somewhere in Indiana. They're in Converse now.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They were somewhere in Indiana, but they got up Thanksgiving morning, got in their car, and drove all the way to Tennessee to go bowling with us.
And ate at Burger King.
They ate at Burger King on the way down. And but we all went out to Holiday Lanes in Fountain City, Knoxville. We bowled and came home that night. And they said, and they're John and Cindy are all singers, and their kids are. And we just had the best time singing, and they've created a memory that'll stay with me all of my life because of that long drive from. Where did they spend the night? Did they stay with us?
Yeah, they stayed with us.
I think they spent the night with us, but we didn't even know they were coming. But it was a wonderful, happy Thanksgiving surprise.
Show up on your door with their bowling shoes and their collared shirts and
Yeah.
flat tops.
Okay. Have we done all our Thanksgiving stories?
Yeah, so.
Okay, I'm gonna draw for John Thomas. You
Draw
want
for
to
you
draw?
here in the hot seat.
Okay, I'll draw for me.
This is Tommy's
See what I
story.
get.
I hope it's a hard one.
I'm not gonna.
Oh,
I can't. Well,
he's
that's a hard for me. Isn't it?
It's a hard one.
No, I'll do
He's
it.
putting it
I'll do
back.
I'll do it. It's
I'm
called a date.
I'm sorry, but this is competitive for me, Tommy. I feel like
Okay, a date. Don't mean to be. I can
date.
tell a date story.
No, I'm kidding.
All right, ready?
A date.
I met Pat when I was 17 years old. I was a camper and she was a counselor.
yes.
Good for you, Pat.
We were a great scandal. But anyway, we spent a week at church camp together. She was the song leader, and we've been making music ever since. But at any rate, we were very attracted. We were very attracted to each other during that week of camp. But we set it up when the camp was over. After camp was over, that we would go on a date. And I still remember the date we went to Watauga Dam, Watauga Lake in Upper East Tennessee. And we went over there. And I still remember that we were looking at the sunset and, with a bunch of friends. It was a friend date. You know, it wasn't just me and her date. But I still remember she came up behind me as we were looking at the sunset and just kind of put her arms around me and, ooh. You know, it's that first physical contact there just was really great. Many years, and I'll tell you one more detail or two more details about that. That night when that date was over, we went home, and she drove me. She drove me home that night, and
I taught him to drive.
she taught me how to drive. A stick shift. Yeah, I learned how to drive on an automatic, and she had a stick shift, and she taught me how to drive. That's another story, though, isn't it? But that car was very precious, the Corvair. And but at any rate, we after the date was over, she drove me home, pulled into my driveway, and I reached over and kissed her. Kissed her on my first date. So I don't recommend that.
You
But
brazen young man.
I know, but I just had it in my mind, I'm gonna kiss that girl, and I did, and I've never.
You know your kids are in the room, right, Tommy? Listening to this.
I know, I've never regretted it. But at any rate, that shirt. There's Christine Thompson says she loves Watauga Lake. Well, good for you, Kristen. All right. But at any rate, that shirt that I wore that night on that date, Pat saved it through the years. I don't even know if I knew that you saved it. She had it stuck in a box somewhere. And when my grandson became a teenager, about the same size, she gave it to him. And he wore that shirt for
He had pictures.
many years. He had pictures of him in that shirt. So
that first date shirt.
It was a first date shirt. So there's my date story. Anybody else got a date story?
It's a good story.
You told one the other night about the.
Oh, I don't want to tell that.
Don't?
Tell the one about Florida where you went to the zoo. I mean, not Florida.
Oh, I got a good
John
date
Thomas got a date
well,
story.
It's kind of a date story.
Yeah.
It's a date story. Well, everything that happens on a date, doesn't it? If you're talking about a calendar date.
Well, that's true. You could do that too. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Okay, and I can say these names because I've retold this story to the people that it happened with. So, but we've got some friends from Shoals, Indiana, the Louks, and it's Jim and Pam.
Your face in front of me.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
that's good. And so we went to Mexico one time, and that family was on my work site, and their daughter Susie was on the work site with me, and she was about my age, and we got along really good that week. And at the end of the week, we were friends, and I knew her parents pretty well too. And they invited me. They said, "Hey, we're going to spend tomorrow at the San Diego Zoo. Would you like to go with us?" And I thought, yeah, that would be great. And so the next day I got up and I met this family, and we went out to the San Diego Zoo, and we're walking around, and the day's going great. I'm having a blast. It's not like an official date, but I'm with her parents, but I'm getting to hang out with Susie, and we're having a good time. Well, we get to the big cats, and they've got this display like a savanna with big rocks and desert sand, and the lions are laying out in the sun. So we're standing there looking at these lions, and the tour bus pulls up behind us, the little tour bus that runs through the zoo, and it's full of people. And the driver gets on his intercom and he goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at the most ferocious animal in Africa." And when he said that, I turned around to the car and went, "Roar!" And nobody laughed. Driver just dropped the intercom like this. And everybody in the bus just looked at me. And I turned around, and Jim and Pam and Susie were already like 50 yards away from me. They had just left me standing there. So I just kind of tucked my tail and kind of followed after him. Never mentioned. That's really the only date I had with Susie. Yeah. And I actually saw Jim and Pam last Christmas at Hilltop Camp, and we laughed about that story again. I was like, remember when I roared at that big full of people? And Jim was like, "Yes, I remember." Thanks for the compliment, Amy. I'm glad you like the shirt.
Loves his shirt.
Yeah.
Any more date stories?
Pat Deisher logged in too.
Oh, good.
We got Pat and Gayla now.
Hey, all right, great.
I also saw, there's my mom.
Oh, okay. Hey, Mom.
And notice that she's saying hi to Ray, not me. So apparently my mom has forsaken me for new friends.
You got the date story, John?
I do, sort of. I'm glad this isn't a competition, because I've heard that John Thomas story before, and it's one of my favorites. And I can't top it. I drove to college, first year of college. I drove to a extension campus of Purdue University, and I drove my dad's Delta 88 Oldsmobile, which we called the Land Yacht. It was this gigantic green car that when you drove, it would go over little hills and stuff like a boat. It was just like float. It was this enormous car. Well, as I pulled into the parking lot one day, I heard this rattling sound, and the muffler had fallen off. And so I didn't have time to do anything with it because I had to hurry into class. And so I went into class and had a couple classes that afternoon. One of them was my Spanish class. And my Spanish class had Lori in it, who is now my wife. And that was where I met her, was in Spanish class. And the muffler had fallen off. And so I left Spanish class, and I was laying underneath the car, trying to figure out some way to put the muffler up so that I wouldn't drag it all the way home. And I didn't have anything. I didn't have anything to put it up with. And so as I'm laying there under the car, this other person slides under the car, and it's Lori. She slides under the car next to me. Now it wasn't the first time she'd ever encountered me. We had conversations in class, but I didn't anticipate that, that she would get down on her knees and then lay down on her stomach and slide underneath the car. And she goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, the muffler fell off and I'm trying to figure out how to get it back up." She goes, "Well, I think I can help. She goes, "I'll open up the trunk and let's see what you got in the trunk." And I'm like, "Okay, a female mechanic." So we opened up the trunk, and there wasn't much in there, but there was a bungee cord, one of those not elastic, but it was one of those stretchy bungee cords with the hooks at each side of it. She goes, "I think this will work." And so she takes the bungee cord away from me, and it goes underneath the car, and she's trying to hook it up. And she says, "Can you give me a hand hooking this up?" She says to the male, she says, "Can you give me a hand? Can you help me fix your car?" And I'm like, "Well, certainly, little lady. Let me get under there and give you a hand." So I got under there, and the two of us managed to wrap this bungee cord around the muffler. And great. "Thanks for the help. You're welcome. See you tomorrow." Okay, off we go. So I drive home, and it's about 17 miles to my house from the college. I get about 10 miles down the road, and I start to smell this smell like something is hot. And it's like, man, something smells hot. I wonder. And as I'm looking around, I catch in the rearview mirror a plume of gray smoke. Like, in those spy movies when they're like, "Oh, they're behind us." Well, not for long. And they push the button and smoke pours out like a volcano erupted out of the trunk. It's that much smoke. It's just a wall of smoke that I'm leaving behind as I drive along, like I've taken fire or something. Well, I get home, and by the time I get home, the muffler, of course, is not connected anymore because the bungee cord burned off, and it's dragging into the driveway. So that was that's really how I want to say met her, because even though we'd talked before, that was my first impression of what kind of a person she was, and
That's great.
so she helped me fix my muffler.
Oh man,
That's awesome.
Whose turn is it?
By the way, John, you pointed out a very important thing there when you said, "Oh, look under here." When you said it's not a competition, and if you ever play the story salad, know that it's not a contest. If you think of a story, you tell it, and that's
right.
That's fine. That's great. We got one more. We'll finish around if John Thomas takes a card.
We just had Cynthia Smith join the party here
Hey,
too.
Cindy.
So yeah.
Cynthia.
Yeah, and Autumn Smith came in too.
Okay.
She's
Great.
she's hijacking Autumn's account. Yeah.
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 All right.
You might want to tell Cynthia about the link to the Game Crafter site too. Well, a few people that joined late might want to buy a copy of the game.
Yes.
Game Crafter.
If you would like to buy a copy of Story Salad, there is a link in the description on both YouTube and Facebook, and you can click that link and you can get yourself a copy.
They make them. They make them.
Oh.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, they'll make you a special one. You order it and they'll make it up just for you.
All right, I'm cutting the deck. Thin to win. By the sea.
By the sea.
A little olive holding a surfboard.
Yeah, I can see it. Well, his back is turned like he's looking out to the sea.
Yes.
Yeah.
By the sea, Mr. T. Well, that's one of the greatest songs from Sweeney Todd. By the Sea. If you've never seen that musical, it's a great moment in the show where the lady who's been baking people into pies has this dream of this idyllic life that she's going to live with Sweeney Todd when they get their little cottage by the sea. It's a great song. If you've never heard it, you should look it up, By the Sea. But the first memory of By the Sea that I remember that popped into my head was when I was probably 12 or 13. My brother was 8 or 9, and we used to go down to Cape Hatteras a lot back in the 80s before it's not that commercial now, but back then it was not commercial at all. They had one restaurant, maybe. They had the Wright Brothers Memorial that you could go to at Kitty Hawk. I still remember I had frog legs for the first time at that restaurant in Cape Hatteras, and they had lighthouses. They had Ocracoke Island with the ponies. But the main thing I remember is the shipwreck, because we heard that there were shipwrecks that you could see. It's called the Graveyard of the Atlantic, if you've never been out to the coast of North Carolina. So we decided to go look for this one shipwreck one day, and we took off down the beach. We thought we had good directions, and we walked and we walked and we walked and we walked, and the sun started going down, and we were getting hungry and tired, and no shipwreck. And we were just exhausted because we had been walking for so long. And finally, Dad said, well, I guess we should just turn around and go back. And so we were all okay. And we were so tired because we thought, now we got to walk all that distance back. Well, the sun was going down. The sky was turning red and orange and all this. We turned around. We did an about face. And for some reason, our view had been blocked by a dune or something that we'd been walking behind. When we did an about face, we turned around that dune on the other side, and there in front of us was that big hulking shipwreck, that big skeleton of a ship that had crashed there who knows how long ago. And it was outlined in black against that red and orange sky as the sun was going down over the beach. And all of us just took this collective gasp, like, oh my goodness. And we just stood there, all of us transfixed, didn't we? And that was the greatest memory from that trip, probably from all of our trips from Cape Hatteras. That was probably the greatest memory we had of finding, almost by accident, the shipwreck that we thought we had missed, that we thought wasn't there. And we just hadn't been looking in the right place. And I can still see it in my head. It was just it was like a painting. Yeah.
I have a sea story.
Pat's got one. Put her in here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting that an entire shipwreck, you could not notice it and then suddenly turn around and have it just appear right in front of you.
Yeah. We had been to Mexico. I think that's where we'd been. I don't even remember. We came back and we were at La Jolla. Is that it?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Have you ever been there? It's beautiful. La Jolla.
No.
North of San Diego.
Anyway, we were just walking around and it was almost sunset. And so we said, well, let's just stand here and watch the sun go down over the ocean. So we were standing there waiting, it was still pretty high in the sky and it started going down. And all of a sudden, a bunch of cars pulled in behind us. And people got in their trunks and got lawn chairs out and walked down to the beach and lined their lawn chairs up. And they were all old people, older than me, which is pretty old. Lined their chairs up. And we were standing there and we thought, wow, what's going on? And we stood there maybe 10 more minutes and the sun kept going down and finally went down. They all stood up, folded up their chairs, carried them and put them in the car and drove away. That's it. That's the story. I've never seen it. I mean, I could not. I mean, I know they came for the sunset, but why did they carry their chairs for 10 minutes? Just lined up on the beach. I've never forgotten. Lazy bunch of old people.
Can't you stand for a sunset?
Anyway, that's mine.
Story.
You got one?
You got a behind the sea story, John?
I have a sea story.
Okay.
But yeah, did you have one too, Tommy?
No, I was just asking. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have one. It involves the sea. It's not strictly a beach story, but right. we went to swim and with the stingrays. We went to Stingray City when we were in the Cayman Islands, and if you've never been there, it's a thing that they feed these stingrays and been doing it for years. And there's a big sandbar out on the ocean somewhere, and you get on a big boat and they take you out, and then you get off the side of the boat and it's only, chest deep, and you can wade around in there. and these stingrays are everywhere. And so you can feed them, and you can handle them if you want to, but you get to swim with the stingrays. All right, it's a thing that humans do. And so we're on our way out there, and the guy who is leading the tour says, "All right, you guys, everybody have a seat and gather around. I got a few instructions to give you for when you encounter the stingrays. First of all, we want you to know that it's very safe. They're docile. Stingrays are not aggressive animals by any means, and there's no reason to be apprehensive or fearful, because they're not gonna try to get you. They're not gonna try to eat you. They're very, very, very safe. So when you get in the water, what you're going to want to do is don't walk like you normally walk, but you're going to want to have to shuffle your feet. When you shuffle your feet, because if you step on a stingray, they might sting you. And this, and I'm looking back and forth, like, didn't he just tell us that we're probably pretty safe? And he goes, now I know that I just told you that you're probably pretty safe, but the stingrays are, sometimes they will bury themselves. They'll lay on the sandbar and they will bury themselves in the sand. And if you step on them, it frightens them, and that's when they'll sting you. So they're not doing it aggressively, but they're just doing it because they're scared. They're trying to defend themselves, as if that's supposed to make us feel any better. Like, if they don't do it because they're angry, they just do it because they're afraid, that we can deal with that. Then he gets out all of these little shrimp. He's got not shrimp, little squid. He gets little squids out, and they've cut them into pieces. And he says, now you're going to want to feed the stingrays, and this is what they eat. They eat shrimp. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, that's pretty straightforward, right? You just put a shrimp in your hand and feed it to the stingray. And he says, but you got to be a little careful when you do that. And I'm like, of course you do. What is it? What, these super safe animals, what do we have to do? He says, when you feed the stingray, you put the shrimp in your hand and then tuck your thumb, inside. Don't have your thumb out like this. Don't just hand it to him like that, because a stingray doesn't have any teeth, but they have very powerful suction. That's how they eat. They suck. And if you have your thumb up, that stingray might get a hold of your thumb and suck it. He might suck your thumb. And I said, I didn't ask, but somebody else asked. It's like, well, is that dangerous? Can they suck your thumb off? And the guy said, no, it's not going to suck your thumb off, but it can be uncomfortable. It can be uncomfortable. And then he closes with this, because we're getting close to the sandbar now, and so he's ending up his speech, and he said, and then he ends with this. He says, now, I'm going to show you the proper technique for picking up a stingray if you want to pick it up and give it a kiss. After telling us that this animal has the capability of perhaps sucking one of the digits off of our hand, he says, if you decide you want to give him a kiss, here's how you do it. But that's my story. I thought...
That's great. Well, John, that was about an hour, and that was a full round, one round.
So it worked out perfectly.
Oh, yeah, good.
Yeah. So I want to.
One way to play.
What
are they saying?
That's one way to play it. There are other ways, but that's one way.
You play however you want.
We played this with a friend in Florida back in March, and he came up with a whole almost rule book of how to make it a competitive game too, because he's a competitive gamer. So he had some really good ideas too. But right now, it's very non-confrontational. It's more about getting to know people than it is trying to beat people down or win the game. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I've noticed, this barcode up here, this QR code up there in the corner, if you would like to donate to the cause tonight, if you've enjoyed this broadcast and want to give a tip, you can point your phone at that barcode, and that will take you to a place where you can donate. It's PayPal, safe. You can donate whatever you want. You can donate, $1. You can donate $1 million if you want it. Well, they can. They can donate $1 million.
Is that your next funny story?
But the time I got $1 million telling a story of kissing a stingray, that would be.
Oh, I do want to say too, if you go to Game Crafter to buy the game, it seems like it's a little expensive because it's basically a vanity game site. It's not a game publisher. We don't print like hundreds of thousands of these decks like Milton Bradley or Parker Brothers does, or one of the big game companies. These games are printed one at a time. So that's why when you look the price, I think the price is $16.99 or something on Game Crafter, if I'm not mistaken. That seems a little steep for a deck of cards, but it comes in this nice little mint tin. And the reason it's that much right now is because we're not mass producing them. If we ever get to the level where we're mass producing them, the price will probably go down a bit. But
well, we hope to get there tonight. This will be the night that they'll start to be mass produced. Yeah, but that's a good point, JT. And $17 doesn't. It seems like a lot of money unless you're a person who buys games, and then you go, well, $17 is really not that much for a game. I've paid. I don't know if I should. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you. I've paid a lot more than that for card games.
yeah.
And so that's how you donate. That's how in the description is how you get the game. One of the things that I like about this game is the fact that it gets people conversing with each other. And sometimes when you have people over, this is what I like about board games in general, but especially about games like this, is when you have people over. You guys remember when you used to be able to have people over to your house? You guys remember that?
Yeah, I do. Back in the 1900s.
Yeah. Remember that?
Sorry.
When if you had another family or another couple of people that you wanted to interact with, you could actually have them come over to your house. Well, sometimes when you do that with people who you don't know really well, maybe you're just trying to get to know them. There's people from church, there's people that you met someplace, having them over for the first time, it could be a little, it could be a little weird. And if they're uncomfortable and you're uncomfortable, it's hard to know, what to do. Well, a board game, you get out a board game and you can talk about the rules and you can talk about the strategy and you can play it together. But this game allows you to right off the bat, without any pressure, without any worries about winners and losers, you can start telling stories. And once the first person tells a story, it always happens. Every time I've played it, it always happens. When the first person tells a story, then that sort of opens the gates up. And while you're telling your story, somebody else is going, oh, that reminds me of a story. And oftentimes it may not even be on the exact theme that you're talking about, but something that you said about zoos or caves or whatever causes somebody else to, and then off you go.
About our boys.
Yeah.
Get over here and tell them about our boys.
Oh, okay. All right, we're trading chairs.
How they just said, I don't know the story.
Oh yeah, we've got a youth group that meets over here on Tuesday nights. We live right next to a church and a gymnasium, and several of the boys just play basketball, but some of them aren't athletes, so they'll just come and sit around the tables. So Dad broke out the story salad the first time we went, and of course their first reaction was, "I don't know any stories. I can't tell stories." Right. And they're all between 10 and 16 years old. Well, Dad pulls out this card deck and he tells a story, and immediately, oh, that reminds me. Oh, listen to this. Yeah. And around we went, and probably for a solid hour, we never ran out of stories.
Right.
And it's amazing. You think people who are even uncomfortable telling stories, we've seen people jump in and tell stories. Yeah. So it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is, Ray said, thanks for the fun evening. $16.99 is a great deal for a full evening of fun. And that is exactly the way to think about games. I think about games, and I know JT does too. I think about them as investments, not expense, because there is a connection that happens when you play games together. And if you don't play games together, you're missing out on opportunities to make memories. We're making memories. We were talking about, even before this started, we were talking about all of the grief that we get from people in our family who don't particularly fancy certain board games. We weren't talking about you, Pat.
Could have been. You could have been.
Well, we have people in our family. Allegedly, you have people in your family too, who may or may not be on screen right now, that don't care for the process of playing the games. And there are enough different kinds of board games. There's cooperative board games where you all play together to try to beat the game. And this is sort of a cooperative game where there's no opponents. There's no people you're trying to beat.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's a very low threshold of fear. But we've got people in our family that loathe the game. I'm just going to say it. They can't stand Roll for the Galaxy. They hate Roll for the Galaxy. They hate it. It would be like from the pit of hell that Tommy was describing earlier in the cave. That's where they think Roll from the Galaxy came from. It was a device fashioned by the devil himself.
Tell them about the crew.
I will.
But their loathing for that game, their hatred for that game, it's one of my favorite games in the world. I adore Roll for the Galaxy. And so do what?
I do too, John.
Okay. All right. So,
Love
but
it or hate it.
I love it.
the fact that they hate it and I love it is the source of playful rivalry and arguments. It's playful argumentation about which one of us actually has the proper perspective on this game. And so in our family, even though we're not playing it together, it's still something that we are talking about and interacting with each other, despite the fact that we're not actually playing it. So,
I've got a game just like that. It's called The Cure. It's the sequel to Pandemic, which is kind of an appropriate board game for today. Oh, he's got it. He's got it. There it is. Yes, The Cure.
There are people watching.
Lovely. Okay, so there are people watching. And
is this what you're talking about?
That's it. And there are people on the message board right now who torment me about this game because we played it late one night and nobody was getting the directions. And so to this day, they still torment me about The Cure. And I'll bring it up like, I'm bringing The Cure to the next game party, and you could hear the collective groan. Oh, no, not The Cure.
Yeah. I played this game. I love this game too. I think it's awesome. I played this game at a game night. I got invited to some friends. Chris Edgington. I'm just going to go ahead and put his name out there. Yeah, I'm calling you out, Chris. He brought me over to his house. He said, "Hey, Brady, we're going to play games at our house." And I'm the game guy. I am the guy who brings the games to game night. So I packed up all my games. I brought The Cure, and we played it. And I loved it. I think it's a great game. It's cooperative. Everybody has a role. You're all getting together. You're trying to cure disease. Oddly enough, it's a game about pandemics. And so we played it. I thought everybody was having a great time. We get to, we came to the next game night. I brought out The Cure and I said, "Hey, you guys want to give that let's play The Cure again." And they all looked at me like I'd just thrown a handful of cat litter in the middle of the kitchen floor. They looked at me like what are you suggesting? Why would you say anything? And I said, "Didn't you guys like it?" They go, "We hated that game. We hated it." But they didn't say anything to me. I had no idea.
So, Jeff Delaney's wanting me to tell you about a game we played back in the back when I first met him.
In 20 minutes, I take over.
It was called the Omega Virus. And it had a soundtrack on it. There was a little electronic thing in the middle, and you were trapped on this spaceship, and you would start up the thing, and you had 30 minutes to beat the game. And there's like this ominous music playing and this timer ticking off, and every now and then this cold mechanical voice like Hal from the Space Odyssey would come on and say, "In 30 minutes, I take over. In 15 minutes, I take over." and it would just keep counting down like that. And so Jeff was reminding me about that. We played it at a 24-hour game party we had at my house one night that he came to. And oh, that's cool. Look at that. He says, I ain't bragging, but board games brought me to Jesus. True story.
That is true.
And he said,
How
he
about
played
that?
game at 5
We played it
a.m.
at 5 a.m. And the other thing he did was my friend Keith Whitaker worked at the music library, and he was also a musician, so he brought everybody headphones and an effects processor, and he hooked the board game up to an effects processor, which made it echo like we were out in the far reaches of space. And so we're all sitting around the table with these headphones on, listening to this scary music.
Here's Sherry K. Hampton likes trouble because the dome in the middle of the board makes that pop noise. See, something for everyone.
But that's the great thing about this. We just love the story salad because, like you said, it sends people off on tangents too. Like, we started talking about the sea, and we ended up talking about board games, which led to even more stories, which just, you could talk all night. You could play this game. There's 52 cards in the deck, and there's 50 cards in the deck, 10 vegetables, 5 of each vegetable. And
there's 54, isn't there?
Three of them are the instructions.
Yeah, there's 4 rule cards.
Audrey,
Okay.
Yeah.
Audrey said the reason she didn't like the cure because the directions were so long.
Oh yeah. Audrey was complaining that the directions were so long. There's 8 pages in the direction booklet.
Yes.
I have some board games that have 75 pages of rules. So 8 pages is nothing.
You preach it, JD. Well, yeah, that's the thing. The reason that we played this is just sort of to give people an idea that there's so many different types of games, and this is an excellent game for interacting with people that you know really well, for interacting with people that you maybe don't know very well, and it gives you a chance to get to know them a little bit better. And it's excellent to have a conversation and to get used to being able to express yourself and communicate. It's good to learn how to talk, to tell stories, and to express ideas and all of that. And it's fun. We also talked about, and I'm going to go ahead and throw this suggestion out so that as we close here, if any of you feel free to continue to comment, the comments are still going to be live and we can respond. You can send me an email. You guys need to mention your website and how they get a hold of you if they want to.
We all three have websites and our names, and there's email links on the website. PatOakes.com, JohnThomasOakes.com, TommyOakes.com. Just ournames.com.
Okay.
We already got an order. Look at that. Chance Rogers just ordered a copy.
Chance is one of my insiders. Yeah.
Awesome.
Way to go, Chance. Doggone it. Yeah, he's in my clique. I've got a Telegram thing called the Comedy Clique, and Chance is one of the guys that's in that.
Great. Audrey just said it was the discussion of the directions of the cure that was the hard part. I can see that.
Yeah, well, it's so that's how we get a hold of you guys. I'll put some links up so that they can find you. And we talked about doing a kids night. Tommy mentioned that.
Invite your family with you.
Yeah.
Who?
Invite your grandkids, your children. Yeah. Kids are great
Are
storytellers.
we going to be able to have other people on here?
Yeah.
Eventually.
Well, that's what I wanted to mention, is that we have the technology to bring other people on. So if those of you who have watched this tonight think that this was a good time and you would like to participate in the next one, feel free to, if you want to talk to Tommy and John Thomas and Pat and say, hey, we want to do that again, then we can do that. Or if you want to talk to me, and if you would like to play, I think we should throw it open to some other people next time. And I love the idea of having some kids come and tell stories.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So if that sounds intriguing and good for you, let us know and we will do it again. I had a good time tonight. Don't forget to donate. There's a link in the description if you want to donate. Or you can point your phone at that QR code. Don't forget to go and get your copy of Story Salad. It is available on Game Crafters, and it will be made, like JT said, just for you. It's just for you. When you order it, little elven workers in a tree
Be chanting your name, won't they?
will chant your name, and they will
paint
craft.
ultraviolet coating on each card lovingly.
Yes, they do, which they make with pixie dust and nectar from fresh flowers. And that is how your game will arrive, handcrafted especially for you, not made in some soulless factory somewhere by a machine. It's actually crafted by people, by magical beings.
Not people, elves.
Elves, that's right.
Elves are people too. That's another discussion. We have to get to the. It's funny that the game player or the non-game player is calling me out about the difference between humans and elves.
Non-game player.
All right.
Isn't it? Are you an RPG player, Pat?
No, but she's a Lord of the Rings fan, so
Okay. Hey, thank you. Thank you for doing this.
yes,
And,
Tyler, you can get a signed copy
who wants to know that?
because I'm going to see you next Saturday. I think
Who is it?
Tyler.
Yeah.
Tyler
I
wants to
will
know if
sign
it's a
your
signed
copy.
copy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do anything. Yeah, get a signed copy. You can get Pat's tofu turkey recipe if you ask for it.
Oh yeah.
But it only works if you got an oven with one eye on it. You
Yeah,
know,
that's right.
like a regular oven, it won't work.
That was a
Hey.
stovetop. It wasn't an oven.
Hey, I love you guys.
Love
Love
you
you
too,
too.
John.
Love
Thanks.
everybody that checked in.
Yeah,
too.
thanks to the chat room.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Adios.
Good night.
Can we read everything?